Story 1. The traffic light turns green. The person in front waits through half of the green light before being jolted back to reality from their phone world by people honking. This repeats for 3 cycles at each intersection. Story 2. Slow walkers and people who stop in the middle of a stairway to or from a mass transit station to check their phones should move out of the way. Story 3. People who litter, especially when they throw things out of their cars, contribute to environmental pollution. On the street, people are less likely to litter because they face consequences such as being shouted at by others or receiving an instant fine from the police. However, inside their cars, they often feel invincible and ignore these consequences. Story 4. When people tell me how I feel instead of shutting their mouths and listening to the words that I am saying. Story 5. Anyone whose cell phone speakers are audible in public makes me want to kill. Honorable mention. When people spell the word lose as loose. Story 6. A group of people was coming towards me on the sidewalk and did not make enough space, so I had to squeeze myself through the gap because I did not want to touch them. Many people have no basic manners. Story 7. People interrupting, cutting in line, and not saying thank you show a lack of basic manners. Basic manners are free, and people should use them. Story 8. Incels and religious people think they have the right to rule the world. If anyone disagrees, they claim they are being persecuted. Story 9. People behave disruptively in public, especially if they are doing so as part of a group or under the influence of substances. Story 10. People stubbornly escalate conflicts, refusing to admit they are wrong, apologize, or take accountability, when the kinder and more mature approach would be much easier. Everyone else then has to be the bigger person, or they end up costing themselves far more than if they had behaved respectfully. Story 11. Seeing people litter, especially when there are bins just meters away, is very frustrating. I dislike people who do it. I once got into a physical fight because I picked up some McDonald's trash that someone had just thrown out of their parked car as I was walking by, and I threw it back in. Story 12. When people stand in the way in aisles or doorways at the grocery store, not the people who realize it and try to move their cart to make room or apologize if it is a tight squeeze, they seemingly do not do it on purpose. However, they have so little spatial awareness that they do not seem to realize they are blocking others. They will just stop in the middle of the door or aisle to check something on their phone or in their cart or purse, or take on or off a jacket, without the common decency to move over a few feet to let people move freely. Story 13. Calling customer service only to be forced to navigate an automated menu for 6 minutes, then be put on hold. When a real person answers, they ask you all the questions you just spent 6 minutes typing into the phone. Story 14. Reckless drivers are not just speeders or those who occasionally cut you off. I mean someone who doesn't care if they hit you or someone else. They are willing to save 10 seconds of travel time with no regard for human life. Story 15. Sleepy all day, but not at night when I actually want to sleep. Struggling to eat all day, only to be famished as soon as I try to go to bed. If I push through and just go to sleep, I still can't eat the next day until bedtime. Needing to sleep 40 hours instead of 42 hours per week for no reason in terms of my industry. People arguing with me about something but being unwilling to listen to new information or think critically. Our economic system is flawed and unsustainable, but nothing is really being done about it. Politics. My inability to earn more money. My lack of talent preventing my hobbies from becoming a profitable full-time employment opportunity. This is not an exhaustive list. Story 16. Being at a restaurant having a conversation when a band suddenly starts playing 10 times too loud for the venue. Story 17. Those people who stand too close to you in line during errands, such as at the bank or grocery store, making you feel the warmth of their touch but not actually touching. It is acceptable when it is not during errands, such as strangers at a party or when sharing an armrest on a plane. Story 18. People who keep interrupting and do not let you finish. I swear, it is like no one knows how to listen anymore. Story 19. People who leave their shopping carts in the middle of the parking lot behave as if it is a treasure hunt for everyone else. Story 20. Telling me to do something I am already on my way to do or currently doing is frustrating. I do not know why, but if I am on my way to do the dishes and you poke your head out and say, "Oh hey, Go do the dishes, please. It removes my entire desire to do the dishes instantly. Story 21. High-pitched, blood-curdling screaming from young children, particularly girls. I understand it is part of growing up, and I never say a word, but I hate it. Story 22. People who bring politics into almost every conversation. Politics is toxic enough. I do not want it included in a conversation, even if it is slightly related to the topic. Story 23. A car, especially when stopped, whose music is blaring at very high volume, even if I like the song, which usually I do not. Story 24. People who are rude or impatient with service workers. I was a cashier and had no patience for people huffing and puffing behind a customer who was taking too long, especially if they were using coupons or the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children. Everybody has to wait their turn. Some people truly think the whole world should revolve around them. Story 25. People who think it is cute, funny, or just what they do when they are always late. It is not cute, funny, or a personality trait. It is very rude. Story 26. People parking their shopping carts in the middle of the aisle to go and get something. I swear some need a license to use them. Story 27. Poor grammar and people using words whose meanings they do not know, thinking they sound very bright and sophisticated. Story 28. When people pronounce familiar like familiar, it's fa. There is only one R in that word, sir. I never correct anyone's pronunciation in real life. I may use the same word later on, pronounced correctly, but I never emphasize it to make anyone feel ignorant. To be fair, my husband, who grew up in Brooklyn, turns his theta sounds into F sounds sometimes. It was the cutest thing I have ever heard when he referred to the movie Death Wish as Death Wish. Story 29. Extremists on Reddit could be in the conservative or complaints communities. People are so uninformed and have no understanding of how reality works. Story 30. When you are ordering food and, during the order, the person says something to a coworker and then turns back to ask, "Can you repeat that?" They often cannot hold their attention span for 5 seconds. Story 31. Smashing my head getting into the car. Other injuries are just life. For some reason, that one turns me into a furious lunatic. Story 32. Fixing someone's mistake. Even though I have pointed out how to prevent the issue, people never listen and think they know better. Now you have wasted both of our time because your ego is bigger than your brain. Story 33. People loudly watching videos or listening to music without using headphones on public transit. Also, people who have loud phone conversations in public or people whose ringtones are set to the loudest possible setting. Story 34. People riding in the left passing lane and never getting over. Also, people going slow or at the speed limit in the left lane, the fast lane. Story 35. People who cannot comprehend a difference of opinion either try to sway you with their view or start being passive-aggressive and belittling. Story 36. Giving someone directions, having them say they understand, and then them failing catastrophically at the first step. Story 37. I worked in retail, and the number of times I heard mothers scream at their own children, "If you don't stop, I will beat you," is surprising. What are they like at home? Story 38. When a truck overtakes another truck on a dual carriageway, the truck in the slow lane then speeds up. As a result, there are two trucks side by side for miles, and everyone behind them has to wait. Story 39. Unleashed dogs are not allowed in public places that require a leash, especially restaurants and playgrounds. I do not care that your dog does nothing wrong. I do not know you, so why would I trust you or your dog? More importantly, why would you trust me or a group of children not to do something irrational, stupid, or even harmful to upset your dog? I do not want to be touched by your dog, and I do not want your dog to touch any of my belongings. I do not want to worry or be alert because of your dog. Please leash your dog. Story 40. When you have plans with friends, but everyone only responds vaguely or not at all in the group chat when you want to make further plans. Please communicate with me. Story 41. When someone tries to help by pointing out the most obvious thing. I understand you are trying to help, but seriously? Imagine there is a fire, and someone is yelling, "Get water." Thank you. I was just about to grab a gallon of gasoline and throw it into the fire. Story 42. My neighbor Gretchen is loud, and her voice is annoying, as if she has installed a built-in speaker. Story 43. When someone is on a call and does not hear the other person, they proceed to say, "Hello," 8 million times instead of hanging up and calling again. It makes my blood boil. Story 44. People turning slowly into an entrance, almost coming to a complete stop. Let inertia carry you through your turn so you do not have to slow down that much. Story 45. When suddenly out of the blue, I can only see half of what I am looking at. It means a migraine is about to strike. Flickering strings of red, green, and blue triangles followed by the mother of all headaches that nothing can relieve. Story 46. Where to start? Most people. Yes, I definitely cannot stand most people because they will inevitably do or say something that will absolutely upset me. The older I get, almost 50, the less tolerant I become. Story 47. Do not ever try to tell me that you deserve something because of who you are or how rich you are. It enrages me. I treat everyone the same. Story 48. People pushing others to have more children when they have no idea of the reasoning behind their decision. Also, people who talk on speakerphone or watch videos and listen to music in public. Story 49. Playing Mario Kart and the player in front of you focuses on attacking people behind rather than actually racing to get ahead. Story 50. I can fall asleep easily during the day, but as soon as I am in my bed at night, I get wired and do not sleep. Story 51. People who say that not believing science and evidence-based facts is just having a different opinion. Story 52. Any resealable bag that you buy products in, like cheese or sandwich meat, requires the top to be torn off. They never tear properly, or they do not leave enough packaging to grasp and pull the seal apart. Story 53. People who have Donald Trump signs in their yard or a pickup truck with a giant Donald Trump flag in the bed are seeking attention. Story 54. People casually look at their cell phones while walking and do not pay attention to where they are going. So you have to navigate around them, even after politely saying, "Excuse me." But particularly in front of my car in a parking lot, I have stopped, but they are not looking, just moseying on by. Infuriatingly rude. Story 55. That a mentally unbalanced, proven chronic liar and morally and ethically bankrupt person like Donald Trump is president of the United States, while the rest of the world points and laughs at us, and that their leaders coddle that dementia-ridden individual to gain favor so they will not be bullied is infuriating. Story 56. Getting into the perfect position to sleep, having a brief debate on whether you need to urinate only to realize that you do. Story 57. Watching people make excuses for abusers, not necessarily the abused, because that is what they are conditioned to do, but those who are not abused and simply create justifications for it. Story 58. Elitism. To be as small, insignificant, and fragile a thing as a human and have a superiority complex takes a level of ignorance and self-importance so extreme it never fails to invoke immediate hatred in me. Story 59. Waking up in the middle of the night needing to urinate. I want to go back to sleep, but I cannot because I need to urinate. However, I do not want to get up because then I will be fully awake. Story 60. Smokers throwing their cigarette butts out the window on the highway, especially in areas experiencing droughts. Story 61. People who go over the stop line quickly as if they plan to run the intersection, then slam on their brakes with their nose almost into traffic, and then look at me in confusion when I stare at them, waiting for them to act. Story 62. Going to YouTube to continue watching something and getting ambushed by short videos and other content, falling for this cheap trick repeatedly. Story 63. People driving down the middle of an aisle or stopping in the middle of an entrance or exit, so you cannot drive next to them. It is not hard to stay on your side. Story 64. Customer service representative when I have to call about a problem. The representative keeps telling me what they believe and minimizing or ignoring my information, which is true and correct, as opposed to what they are telling me. Story 65. Selfish and dangerous drivers include those who drive well below the speed of traffic, those who follow too closely, those who speed and cut into traffic aggressively, and those who cut people off. Story 66. Tickling my feet. Nothing else makes me so crazy angry. When I was very little, I think my big brother sat on me and tickled my feet until I could not stand it. I still cannot tolerate it to this day, and I am 72 this month. So anybody who thinks it would be funny to tickle grandma's feet better think again. Story 67. Using the term retarded is ignorant and outdated. It is not a synonym for stupid or dumb. This usage is infuriating. Story 68. People who park over the line in a parking lot. It is so easy to just not do that. I go from 0 to full rage in seconds. Story 69. People are using the speaker on their phones, walking around in circles and talking loudly. We do not want to hear your conversation. Story 70. Trying to bring up any grievance and they say, "If you are in a bad mood, it is not my fault," or, "I do not know why you are always against me. It makes my blood boil." Story 71. People who have no consideration for others around them include those who take up both sides of a footpath, stand in front of train or elevator doors when people are exiting, especially if they are boarding at the same time, and those who occupy entire benches that could accommodate more than one person. Story 72. People who absolutely trash their table and the space around it when they go to a restaurant because it is the staff member's job to clean it. Story 73. When someone waits until I am within feet of an intersection to pull out in front of me, and then takes forever to go under the speed limit. Story 74. When I'm tired in the morning and the drawer knob catches on my pocket or pant fly, it is very frustrating. It is even worse if I spill my coffee or drop my breakfast. Story 75. Someone called me. I missed it by 1 second. I called back immediately, but there was no response. Why? Just why? Story 76. People driving slowly in the passing or fast lane refuse to move out of the lane. They may speed up if they see you trying to pass them. If you want to drive slowly, that is your prerogative. However, the signs on the interstate clearly say slower traffic, keep to the right. Story 77. Drivers who decide to pull out into 40-mile-per-hour traffic rather than wait 2.5 seconds for that one last car to pass, forcing the other driver to slam on the brakes to avoid rear-ending them. Story 78. People who say if you lived in the Middle Ages you would die at 30 are incorrect. If you discount child and infant mortality, the average lifespan was still around 60. Assuming you reached age 12, you were probably fine. Story 79. Drunk drivers are selfish and display unacceptable behavior. It is especially concerning if they have children or pets in the car. People who smoke at the dog park are inconsiderate. It is harmful when they leave their cigarette butts on the ground where dogs can ingest them. Story 80. People with no spatial awareness who are clearly in the way of other people but either do not care or are completely clueless. I have to control my anger every time. Story 81. Group texts with a large number of people and many phone numbers I do not know, with my text notifications going off every few seconds. Story 82. People who do not have basic manners, such as saying please or thank you, are frustrating. For example, when we are driving and I let you cut in front of me, it is rude if you do not give a thank you wave. This behavior is unacceptable. Story 83. Being blamed for something I did not do and having to defend myself makes my Aries blood boil. Story 84. Any kind of political flag or attire is inappropriate and makes me very angry. Politicians are people who should, in a perfect world, work for us, not people we should cheer for like sports teams. Story 85. People who enter the train without waiting for passengers to get off first. An elderly woman did this to me last week and said, "Excuse me." Apparently, I obstructed her as she tried to board the train. Story 86. Someone eating rapidly as though it is going out of fashion and chewing with their mouth open. Story 87. Getting stuck behind slow walkers causes instant anger. This is not good when you work full-time in retail and encounter slow walkers all day. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.